Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I'll talk about, once again, those individuals who don't want you to know some things, okay? These are the folks who, they could be in your family. You could be working with these people. They could be over the internet. These are individuals who, they have their share of reasons as to why they don't want you to know certain things. I can tell you that on one particular site, there was material that I had created, as well as material that other people had created that I commented on. Over 100 posts were censored. Valuable information. We're talking about not he say, she say, but we're talking about very smart minds who put together a variety of information that impacted industries like the entertainment world, science, finance, religion. Some of you all saw their work over the years, and some of these individuals who were just very outspoken, they are now quieted, and some others who has shared valuable information are unfortunately in their graves 6 feet deep. For individuals to take the information that's being shared with you lightly, the ones who want to simply say that everybody is a conspiracy theorist just because the truth is uncomfortable, because someone told you one story, and so you think that because you heard it from some mainstream media that you know something or another, so you shut everybody else down. You got some waking up to do. You're not woke. First and foremost, being that I have a background in journalism and communications, I have to remind some individuals of that. There are scripts behind the scenes. Sometimes you're the one who's writing the scripts, and someone comes along and they edit that script. Matter of fact, by the time they're done with that script, you don't have much of a story based on your personal observation, your research. You don't have much of a story. Somebody else is controlling that story, that narrative. Someone else is threatening you in so many ways, even if they have a smile on their face. When you have celebrities and you put those celebrities in a search engine, you're going to see only the information that comes up that they want you to see. That they want you to see. That means that the handlers behind the celebrity. That means that the investors. That means even they themselves paid a lot of money for certain stories to never see the light of day. Family members who have personally dealt with these folks, who know some inside knowledge. You're not going to hear about the mother, the father, the sister, the brother on the front page and what they said or what they know. Tell all, exposed, all of that. As soon as it hits mainstream, somebody comes along and they are finding a way to put all of that back in the box, even if they got to put the person who spoke that truth in a box. And this is what keeps people from telling their truth. This is what keeps people from sharing their experiences, is to know that there are those out there who will hurt you for speaking truth. That will keep your mouth shut. And I've said that on other audio. They don't want you to know what all is happening behind the scenes. Even God himself, and I said this in another audio, at times he don't want you to know. Because he knows the future. He knows what some of you all would do. Some of you all would just fall over and have a heart attack if you were told every single thing. Others, you don't need to know because you're going to act a complete fool. And God doesn't want some of his strongest minds in a jail cell somewhere. Some of you others, you have been told so many different things to the point where it, for a while, drove you mad. And that's what happened with some of those who did do years and years of exposing. Some of them, they did end up tripping up on the wrong information. And then when they tripped up on the wrong information, or they were led into or trapped or tricked, bamboozled, manipulated, controlled, they were discredited. They were no longer believed. Some of the best and brightest minds. We were with them for a while, but then after a while, we fell off the wagon, or we jumped off the wagon, or we told the person driving the wagon to stop and let me off right here because this fool is crazy now. This one is going to take us all over the cliff. I was okay when things were safe. Come on. I was okay when the information was digestible. I was okay when the information was the kind of information that empowered me or a group. But then when the information started getting twisted, and there were those behind the scenes who were messing with some folks and got them to a point where they were begging and pleading and don't do this and don't do that. And okay, I will say this and I will say that. That's when we were like, okay, you have been bought and paid for. I can't keep listening to you. So you have the censorship that's taking place. And some of you all, let's talk about it on a family level. Because for some of you all, you can understand when we talk on the family level. When I start talking about the broader picture and I start talking about national and international and those things that are of the occult, you kind of fall off and you don't know what I'm talking about. So let's go there and use family. So you have the family who, there are those who don't want other family members to know what they're made of, so to speak, how much money they make. They don't want them to know what they're into, who they're connected to. They don't want others to know what's inside their house. And let's say that you're close to these individuals who are serious about keeping quiet. Serious about nobody leaves out of this house telling anything about anything. Okay? But there are some things that need to be said. But the controlling individual, no, I don't want anything said. Okay. So then what happens is that there are these problems that start to arise with extended family members. There are those issues because some information, once again, it is important to share. But the one who is about censorship and about lowering the hammer on some folks and about ruling with a strong arm is going to figure out ways to keep everybody's mouth shut. And some of you all who grew up in atmospheres like this, you know that you are walking on eggshells with people like this. You are thinking about if they have access to a weapon, if they're going to use that weapon on you one day. You're thinking about things like that person once physically abused me, they may abuse me again. You're thinking about things like that person is emotionally abusive and I'm not ready to deal with, don't want to continue on with the name calling and so forth. And so what you are in is a headspace of being controlled. And for some folks, they are physically controlled. So now there are those individuals that say, if you act like you're going to leave this house, this, that, and the other is going to happen. And so in your mind, you reason that this is okay, it's healthy, it's fine. You know, there's other people who have gone through something like this. I guess I'll be okay, until you're not okay. Later on in life, you start meeting different people, you start sharing your experiences, and people say, oh my God, I feel so sorry for you. What? You went through what? And this was all because of information. This was all because they didn't want certain people to know things, or they didn't want their enemies to have an upper hand, because sometimes some of these people who are very guarded with information is because they have enemies. And I get that, I understand, but you don't have to act like a complete idiot because you don't want your enemy to know some things. But some individuals, the idiot sort of behavior starts to show up. And I say sort of because sometimes it shows up and you see that it's very idiotic. But other times it shows up and it looks like intelligence. It looks like it's very smart what they're saying to you, what they're doing. And so you reason that you'll be okay, you'll be all right. People who are very powerful in organizations do the same thing. Except, as I said in another audio, depending on where you are on the food chain, you just might be ate up. Somebody in your family might end up being hurt badly. And some of you always say, well, why? Why would they do, such drastic things? Because the information is just that important to them. You see. We've got to be the type of individuals that's willing to listen to the one true God. And in this way, you're not in a guerrilla warfare situation where you don't know when the enemy's going to jump out. Or you have a clue, but you don't know what they're going to jump out with. The enemy, the demonic enemy, uses the same playbook, same tricks. Okay, they might have different colors, different atmospheres, but when it comes to information, it's the same old. It's kill or be killed. And information can do just that. I want some of you all to do some research. Not the kind of research that mainstream media puts out there, where you take something that you saw on television and you go and you put it in the Google search engine like so many other people do. And then you just look at the first 2, 3, 4 pages and you're like, okay, now I have enough information and I'm good. I want some folks to be like the journalist who goes to the state, to the city, boots on the ground, and you talk to the locals. I want you to be like the investigative journalist. Sit down with the source. And the information that you receive, you're going to go over it with a fine-tooth comb and you're going to cross-reference. That means that you're going to go and you're going to take that information and then you're going to compare it with other information. And then you're going to do your due diligence and you're going to research. And this is for topics related to whatever you're going through or what you feel ignorant about or what you think you know. We're not talking about just any and every topic, but topics that are of interest, topics that directly impact things like your money, your health, things that your family are going through, their share of challenges, research. And don't disrespect individuals who have stories that make you feel uncomfortable. Stories that don't have anything to do about you, but they're negative stories. And they are stories that are meant to expose. They are stories that will make you feel uncomfortable. They are stories that, no, you might not be going through right now, but you may be in the future. And that little pride that some folks have, right? That little id tells you, well, that's her issue. but it's not going to impact me, and then it does. I remember there were those parents back in the day who was talking about those people over there, and they got so many problems with their sons and daughters, and this one is estranged, and they were just blah, 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 just putting themselves up on some kind of pedestal, and God knocked them off because now they have the estranged daughters and sons, and now they are the ones that are sitting up there wondering how come and why. And the Lord says for many individuals, it started with their iron hand over information. You didn't allow people to just be people. This is why folks is coming all out the closet everywhere. Because how long were you going to keep putting people in boxes? How long were you going to tell people stay in a child's place? And now I'm grown. So what are you talking about? How long did you think you was going to keep threatening and dangling carrots and saying, if you do this and if you do that? See, you can't do anything with a person who they don't do things based on merit. They don't do things based on praise. You can't do anything with people like us. Oh, if I do this, if I do that, then maybe she... No, it does. At this point, it don't even matter. If you want to do something nice, you do something nice. If you don't, you don't, But you have those individuals that they are so starved for attention. They're so starved for affection. They're so starved for opportunity. They're so starved for somebody to say thank you. And I appreciate you and I love you. And they'll just dance a little extra hard for that. Ooh, I'll dance a little harder because you did that and you said that. You see? And I'll run for you a little more. You got some folks that's in the family that do that sort of thing. That's their motivation. We're not judging. We're just exposing. Come on. And that's why the enemy has the upper hand on some people. The enemy knows some of you all better than you'll ever know yourself because you gave out information while the enemy sat back and was quiet. I give controlled information. I learned that from the media world. Whatever I'm saying, whatever I'm providing, whatever I'm writing about, whatever I'm talking to somebody about is controlled information. And my handler is the one true God. Come on. And for some of you all, your handler is the one true God. God says, here's some information. I need you to handle this with care. Because this information, I'm going to tell you just a little bit. This is what's going to get you from point A to point B. Oh, okay. You don't need to know everything. You just need to take this package. You don't need to know what's inside it. Come on. Some of you all that came from the street, you know that package is not for you to open. And if you open up that package and if there's something that's missing out that package, that's your head. Some of you others, you know that when it comes to going down a rabbit hole and you get some information, if that information is the kind of information that is very necessary to share with individuals, then that's what you do. And you already know the consequences. It's usually death. And I'm talking about some grade A information. You see, I'm not talking about some, I got a little piece of information. And then everybody runs around and says, yeah, okay, woo, she was in touch with a whistleblower or whatever. But that's information that everybody else can find on the internet. That's information that, it's no big deal. But the information, that upsetting information, is the information that they censor. That upsetting information is the information that they will threaten you about. That unsettling information is the information that people have lost their jobs over because they talked about it, because they shared it, because they profited from it, because they helped other people who were the enemy to some other groups that they didn't know were enemies. And it's like, well, I didn't know. And somebody shows up and says, well, now you know. And this is why we're going to do what we're going to do. And this is why we're going to censor you, cut you off. Or sometimes they don't even have that conversation. They just do it. Information. Who would have thought, right? Information could be so powerful. Who could have thought that some folks would be willing to go all out to get information out there? Why is it that you're not hearing the negative stories about certain subject matter in media? People's experiences. Why is it that you don't see those numbers popping up about the symptoms and situations and the things that people have done most recently, including putting people 6 feet deep in their graves that were beloved family members and friends? And the information is out there. But you see, when you don't want to know information, you bypass it. You don't read between the lines. You don't pray about it. You don't do your due diligence. You just go along with your personal experience and those that are closest to you, what they said. But when the negative news shows up, it's, oh, well, that's just one case, or that's just a few people, and that's not even factual. While folks want to talk about fact checkers, police. That's another career that somebody could get into. It was tempting at first until I found out, oh, okay, this is more of that controlling people, keeping people from other information. Okay. You know, there's always someone that you can recruit to do the dirty bidding. There's always somebody who doesn't do their research and they just see a paycheck, and so they go around and they call themselves helping people. They call themselves enlightening people. They call themselves, you know, being a beacon of light when they're nothing more than agents for Satan, because they don't see the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that just like you had controlling family members who were very guarded about what you told folks, we got some controlling leaders. People who hold people's purse strings that are using people as flunkies, pawns in the game. Desperate for a paycheck. Here, I got a job for you. Credit bad. Criminal history. Poor, broke, busted, and disgusted. I got a job for you. No different than the street runner. No different than the pimp, the player, or the hustler. While folks want to sit up there and they want to talk about them as if their poop don't stink. Even though, yes, we do expose them on the channel, but don't ever forget where you came from. Or some people in your family, where they came from. You see. Because the game is still being played. People who are desperate will act like gatekeepers. They don't mind taking a position. And once they connect the dots and they realize what this is really about, they go, okay, this is the wrong profession. Or I'm just going to be here for a little while to get some bills paid, but I got to go because I know what this is all about. I will tell you, every single job over the years that I've had, I've seen a bigger picture where everybody else was just glad to have a paycheck. I saw the bigger picture. I said, oh, now I see how they're making their money. Oh, now I understand why they're doing what they're doing. Especially jobs where there's information being collected. There's a lot of money to be gained when you get someone's information. Some of you all know that. Name, address, phone number, email, right? To you, you've done it so many times, so you don't even think anything about it. But name, address, phone number, email, that is worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And this is why some individuals, they get real mean-spirited when they say, you better make sure that you don't share my information with this one and that one. Sure. The people on the surface won't ever see your information. But then there are those behind the scenes. There's a little disclaimer that you didn't read. There's the sentence that you didn't quite understand. guarded. Some individuals very guarded, right? We talked about that. They enlist the help of the gatekeeper or gatekeepers. We talked about that. We talked about the consequences. And there are many of them when you decide that you want to do some things. But now, at this point, somebody who's fearful, who's nervous, whose anxiety is raised, you should be thinking about the one true God and putting all of that in God's hands and asking the Lord to order your steps and asking the Lord to give you insight as to what your next move is or what you should be doing now that you are a part of that system, now that you were disobedient, now that you rebelled. One thing that bothers me about some individuals who know that they know I messed up or I was wrong or I shouldn't have or what have you is when they start that lying. They start that deceiving. They start that manipulating because they're ashamed. They're embarrassed. I can't believe that I did this and I shouldn't have. Okay, but tell the truth though, because the truth will set you free. As long as I was hiding my testimony, and some of you all who have followed me for quite some time, you know that my testimony of how I even showed up with the one true God and accepted him and, walking this journey goes back to being in a relationship where I was abused. And so that's embarrassing, you see, especially when at the time I was at the top of my game in college. I was on the dean's list. I knew a lot of people. I had dreams of being a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. So for some of you all, when I'm talking street and I'm acting a little silly or what have you, don't get it twisted. I'm not a dumb person. Or if I'm, sharing a story and there's, some ghetto, don't get it twisted. I am an individual that has been taught by some of the brightest minds. I am an individual who I just chose to keep some street about me because I knew over the years that I was going to be going back to the hood, the neighborhood, that is. And I knew that I was going to be getting on buses and I was going to be walking and I didn't have a driver's license years ago. So I couldn't afford to be that one that is going into communities and being out there among the public, having this air about me. You see, you got to assimilate. You got to do as the Romans do. But I see the foolishness all around. And it's upsetting when you talk to individuals who they may not have an IQ like yours, but there is something about them that is wise, that is smart, but then they do something that is totally out of left field, and then you question their intelligence. You say, wait a minute, hold up, you put me on the map and you're doing this? And then you go back and you start researching and you start, saying, okay, did I miss something here? And then you find out that there are people who are fearful. So fear is overriding common sense. Fear nowadays is overriding wisdom. People are not knowing different things because there are those who are censoring you while they're saying at the same time that I'm providing you knowledge. They're giving you double talk. It's like somebody who's a slave, but then if you got enough people around them saying, oh, you're free, you're free. Oh, yes, you're free. Don't worry about it. You're free. But why am I still here on the plantation? And why am I still working for you? yet I'm free. Well, you're free to come and go as you please. What exactly does that mean? That means that you're free to go over to that slave quarter and then come back, and that you're not on a set time like you used to be. But that's not the kind of freedom that I want. But see, how do you know what freedom looks like if you've never experienced it, never touched it? Ooh, it's like the bird in the cage. But some individuals, they get a bit of knowledge, and that's why they start questioning their captivity. Somebody was talking. Somebody gave them information. I told you all, past audio. Question. Why? Ask that question. Why? Ask the question who, what, when, where, how. Stop just taking information and saying, okay, that's one person or two people. No. You'll find out there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people with stories, with experiences, with patterns. Ooh, I have to emphasize that, with patterns. In your getting information, you should be looking at the patterns. For instance, let's go back to the family, the matriarch, the patriarch, the person who you grew up with who just wanted you to be quiet and don't tell. Okay? 9 times out of 10, they acted like that with you. They also acted like that with other people in the family. There are patterns. Satan's always pulling his same old tricks. So you weren't the only one that was told to keep your mouth shut. There was also the mother. There was also the brother. There was also the sister. There was also, the cousin. There was all these different people that were told the same thing. When you're dealing with me, let me tell you something. And they had their little rules. When you're dealing with me, I don't want my information out there. When you're dealing with me, you need to be real careful how you talk to me. When you're dealing with me, make sure that whatever you see in this house, that you don't go running your mouth. And then they may tell you the reasons or they may not. It all depends on the individual. And some of you all behave that way. And so later on in life, when the slave, is exposed to a bit of freedom and knows what freedom feels like, is going to come back and say, this business of you telling me that we have this great relationship, and that you care about me and you want what's best for me and all this other, I don't really believe it, because you're controlling. You're telling me that I better not or else. Or you're saying, if I do, then you will give. This is foolishness right here. And this is when that controlling individual is going to push back. This is when the controlling individual is going to come up with ways to try to rein you back in. Because, you are way out there now. You are doing a little bit too much. I don't know who you're talking to. I don't know what your affiliations are. So they may rein you back in sweetly, nicely, politely. Let's find out what all she's been telling people. Let's find out, who she's connected to, you see. And so those that they know that you feel comfortable around, they're going to put them up to doing your bidding. Some of you all, you needed to tell me, Mother, you're sorry, like yesterday. Because when individuals thought I wasn't paying attention, I was paying attention. And I said, wow, these people are very smart. I got to give it to them. Very smart. But manipulative, cunning, deceptive, and controlled. Because you can't get to a level of manipulating other people unless you yourself have been manipulated. You can't get to a level of controlling people unless you yourself have experienced your share of being controlled. You can't be the pimp, the player, the hustler unless you learn the pimp game from a pimp or observed it. Unless you learn the player's ways been around that mentality. Same holds true for the hustler. So for me to preach and teach on various audios, I had to be exposed to the darkness before I was exposed to the light. I had to see evil for what it was, sin for what it was. I had to make a conscientious decision either to go with or not to go at all. I had to be very observant, and I ended up being punished for being observant. I ended up being punished for being the one that questioned what I saw, what I heard. I was marked early on for being a troublemaker. Let me tell you something. When you're truly walking with the one true God, when you are called, anointed, appointed, even years ago when you didn't know you was called, anointed, and appointed, you're hated. And for some of you all, today is the day that you receive the kind of information that says that all of what you went through growing up and even now is because you're a child of light. Some of you all, you're just getting a taste of what it feels like because people are starting to turn their back on you because of the information that you speak, because of the information that you push back on, because you're sharing the type of information that is liberating some people while other people are ensnared and don't want to be released out of their captivity. And this could be physical information. This could be spiritual information. This could be information related to health, related to the entertainment industry. It could be information related to the sciences. It could be information politically related. It could be any number of subjects, and people get upset when they don't want to know the truth about a favorite celebrity. When they don't feel the least bit interested in someone or something. Oh, I don't care. I don't care. And that's another pet peeve of mine. I don't care. I don't care. You don't care. No, I don't care. Oh, okay. And then something happens, and now the person knows that they said that, but now they're coming to you and they're asking questions in a nice way, thinking that you forgot about all of their little snobby comments about they don't care and, you know, I'm fine and I'm good and you need to stop watching or researching or doing whatever. Now they're, well, you know, I want to know something. And do you think that, and could you find out more about, and I'm feeling this way and I don't quite understand. And that's their tiptoeing around, but they are trying to get information while they're sharing information. And you got to be able to see it for what it is. We are very divided right now as a nation. I'm seeing it in the spiritual realm. We're very divided because some folks thought it was smart to orchestrate a bunch of disinformation by design. And now all you did was confuse people, abuse people, use people, control people. And now eventually what happens is the people are going to turn on you like snakes. Because you can't keep beating someone and think that they're going to keep saying, okay, it's fine. Okay, I'm good. It's all right. No, I'm not good. I can't stand what's happening. I can't keep up this act. I just want somebody to help me. And then us believers are going to be like, oh, in the name of Jesus, the truth will set you free. You better get it together right now and accept the truth for what it is and quit pushing back and quit fighting people. that tell you the truth about your ugly self, your ugly ways, and your bad decisions. You better get right with the one true God before you close your eyes. You better make sure that you take care of all that information that we told you about months ago. Do you have a beneficiary on your life insurance policy? Do you have a beneficiary on your bank account? Do you have individuals that are taking care of your assets? Do you have individuals that you can speak to concerning what to do in your absence? Do you have individuals that can be able to make sure that your information is disseminated truthfully, honestly, and that on your death certificate, somebody doesn't tell a lie and say that you died of something else? Jesus, oh, I told some of you all some similar things in other audio, and some folks caught hold, and it's nothing but the one true God reminding me to remind you. I mean, so cocky, some individuals. They think that they know everything. And once again, they don't even see the train wreck coming. There's going to be individuals who'll say, I see this in the spiritual realm. They told me that this was going to happen and that was going to happen months from now. But I got past that. Ha ha ha, the devil is a liar. So they get through one season and then a new season shows up and now the issues occur. And then they get through 1 year and they talk about, yes, remember last year they said this and they said that. Well, I got through. And then something else happens. And now there is no getting through. And everything that they should have took care of, and everything that they should have researched about, and everything that they should have done to make wrongs right, they didn't. And then they check out of here. And there are those individuals that are left with false information. There are those individuals left with false hope. There are individuals that are covering up, telling lies, being secretive, not being honest, not sharing real stories, real experiences, for fear of being condemned, for fear of being judged, for fear. Jesus, be with the individuals that are dealing with all things related to fear and put a courageous heart in them in the name of Jesus. An honest heart. And I pray in Jesus' name that your truth will get through. That your truth, every portal, every avenue, every way possible, that man, woman will come up with ways to get truth out there in ways that those that are supposedly enlightened and knowledgeable could never dream of. God will do that. God will do that. He will empower you. He will bring you out of the most challenging situations related to information. There are people right now that I'm seeing at the workplace who information was put out in emails. And for some of you all, you have a company phone, so information was put out over text. And it was the kind of information that you knew it should have been worded better, but it wasn't. You knew there should have been more information given, but it wasn't. And you have your share of questions concerning this information, and the gatekeepers, if you will, are not giving you what you want. I am seeing in the spirit, some folks need to go higher up to get the information that they need, to make a conscientious decision on whether or not you want to stay with that company. That's how serious it has gotten based on information. I'm also seeing in the spiritual realm that there are those individuals who have ropes, if you will, around their wrists and around their ankles. And there are these words, like little tags on these ropes. Words, various words. And these are words that are negative, that are disrespectful, that are designed to keep you bound. And this is a spiritual vision, if you will. It's the type of spirituality that some people are grappling with right now, where all of the negative words and experiences have kept you bound. This is why you are not walking with the one true God. And so the demonic has you held captive with these spiritual ropes around your wrists and around your ankles. And why those two places? Because you're not going to move in the spirit with the one true God. You're going to remain seated. And in the physical realm, that's what you do. You do a lot of sitting. When God wants you to move, you don't do it. You fight up against it. When others that God uses to tell you to do some things, you fight up against it. And there's a number of people like this. In the spiritual realm. They're just bound. And then some folks actually have not just the ropes around them, but they also have gags in their mouth. And these are those that have crowns on their head. And usually in a vision like this, that means that these are folks that have names, powerful names. They're recognized. They have leadership roles. Okay. The ones that don't have crowns, they're average Joes. But the ones who do have crowns, these are people who are powerful in their industries. But yet they too are gagged. Except they're gagged. The other ones, they can still speak, but they're gagged. But they too, I should say, have ropes around their arms spiritually, as well as around their ankles. So they want to say some things and their heart is pounding. I see that in the spiritual realm. It's a bright red heart that's pounding, and they keep wanting to speak, but their captors aren't letting them. So it's not like they're accepting what they see, all things in media, because that's not what's happening. It's because they are bound. They are roped off even. They sit close, though, to the individuals who don't have the crowns, who they can still speak, but they're bound, with their arms tied and their legs bound. They sit next to them, though. So in the spiritual realm, there isn't anything special, right? Like in the physical or the worldly, where you got the mansion on the hill and you're driving all these nice cars and whatever else. In the spiritual realm, they got a crooked crown. And they're seated right next to the ordinary, the average Joes. And then coming from these folks is this long path that's lit up. It's white. And then there's these words just scrambled up, some of them, letters, and they're black and white. And the words, the lettering is leading some of them, or at least they're not getting up, but there is a direction, there is a path, but they can't get up to walk on that path on top of these little letters and words. And this pathway is leading to light. See, it's black and white though. It's black and white. Black lettering, white path. But the scrambled up words, the scrambled up lettering is their teachings, is their rituals, is their oaths, is all of the things that got them to where they are. But if they're to stand, they can walk on the confusion, on the scrambling, and choose a path that leads them toward light, that eventually leads them to another path that takes them to the one true God. See, God can take a confused person their mind, their body, their spirit, as well as the path that they're walking on that's confusing and difficult and strange, and turn a situation around in such a way that they get on the right path, the one true God path that's clear, that's golden, lights on both sides. Not like worldly lights, but bright. And it leads up as opposed to down. You see. Jesus, this is a time to praise the Heavenly Father, because some folks are figuring out ways to just get up off of that floor. They're being real creative. They're using each other to prop themselves up so that they can start walking on that path. I'm seeing that in the spiritual realm. But you've got to touch the one true God's hem of his garment. You've got to believe that this is what you want. You've got to walk on, stand on, step on to get to where you need to be. And those letters, as you step, are forming the names of individuals that have kept you bound. Those letters are also calling out the adjectives that were used to describe who you are, that got you mentally and physically and spiritually and sexually, emotionally bound. But you got to step on them, and you've got to recognize what that word is. And then you step on that toward a path that is golden and freeing. The information is out there. If you dare to use knowledge to get your freedom. I thank you as always for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube and Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. We do welcome giving on this channel, and blessings to you.